community to believe it was a domestic pet illegal to have in New York City. However it got here, this duck is no chicken. It's not afraid to take on New York City.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It really is. That's our time for now. News 3 at 5 starts right after this.
Right now at 5, we'll have the very latest of the homicide investigation in Lodi as the 3 people arrested appear in court.
An update on the fatal Sun Prairie explosion from this summer. We'll tell you what court documents are saying about the gas line that was struck.
And the election just 5 days away now, what the candidates for governor are saying about health care.
This is News 3 at 5.
And thanks for staying with News 3. We have new details in the beating death of a man in the town of Dane.
The 3 suspects, all facing felony homicide charges, appeared in Dane County Court today. And our Keely Arthur was in the courtroom. She joins us now with the very latest. Keely.
Well, that's right. We knew that 24-year-old Dalton Ziegler was beaten Monday night and left for dead, but we didn't know why. Now we are getting some more answers. Michaela Tracy, Jacob Johnson, and Drew Luber all had bail hearings this afternoon. In court today, we learned Tracy had a romantic relationship and lived with Ziegler in the town of Dane. Prosecutors say she suspected Ziegler was cheating on her and asked Luber and Johnson to do something about it.
Ms. Tracy summoned essentially Mr. Luber and Mr. Johnson to come to the residence. She shared with Mr. Ziegler to confront him and catch him red-handed because she thought he was cheating on her. That's what resulted in the confrontation and the physical violence.
After the incident, prosecutors say the 3 suspects stole an ATM card and $25. It wasn't until hours later that 911 was called after a different person found Ziegler. Now, members of Ziegler's family who were at court today were visibly upset. They declined an interview. We will have more details on the suspects and Ziegler on News 3 at 6.
We will see then. Thanks, Keely.
Keely, thank you. The Dodge County Sheriff's Office investigating a homicide in the town of Lebanon. According to the Dodge County Sheriff's Office, they say they received a report of a death that happened at Red Wing Road in the town of Lebanon yesterday evening. When law enforcement arrived, they found the body of a man. Deputies say they believe the death is a result of homicide. They're still trying to identify the victim and believe the public is safe at this time.
Janesville police have released the name of the man who was shot in the city yesterday afternoon. Police say 32-year-old Anthony Hibbler is recovering in the hospital after receiving multiple gunshot wounds in his legs, hands, and upper torso. Officers arrested 22-year-old Dominic Verdina in the shooting, and he could face a charge for attempted second-degree intentional homicide. Police say the 2 men had an ongoing feud.
The woman accused of shooting and killing a man at a downtown parking ramp over the weekend makes her first appearance in court. 21-year-old Kenyara Gadsden was charged with first-degree intentional homicide and use of a dangerous weapon in Dane County Court today. Gadsden stood mute, and the court entered a not guilty plea. She's accused of shooting and killing 21-year-old Stephen Villegas in a campus parking ramp early Sunday. A $100,000 cash bond was set for Gadsden. We have new information on the Sun Prairie explosion that killed Fire Captain Corey Barr. Documents reveal that the gas line that was struck and led to the explosion was not properly marked.
The markings were 25 feet to the north of where the gas line actually was. Our Jamie Perez has those documents and tells us more about what we're finding out. Jamie?
So that actual gas line was somewhere in the street and not on the mark along the sidewalk as indicated by USIC. Now, USIC is a company that specializes in underground utility damage prevention. According to the documents from that search warrant that we looked at, it says it's unknown if USIC uses utility mapping to help in marking those utilities. Now, if a map was used, that locator should have observed an error or discrepancy in the gas marking at the intersection of Bristol and Main. And although it is still early in this investigation, business owners say regardless of what happened that day, they're sad that it happened at all.
It's an accident. And I really am more concerned with rebuilding the downtown and making it better than ever.
It's pretty sad if somebody neglected to do their job properly and it caused a gentleman's life because of a mismarking of something that's pretty critical.
We reached out to many of the investigators involved in this case. None of them were available for comment, and many did not return our messages. Now, the warrant was filed to search the streets for evidence that could support a charge of second-degree reckless homicide for the death of Fire Captain Corey Barr. The investigation is still ongoing. Of course, we will follow the case and provide details as they surface.
Jamie Perez in the newsroom. Jamie, thanks.
The Barron County Sheriff's Office said it is shifting away from its 24/7 operations center in the search for 13-year-old Jamie Kloss. Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald said the search for Jamie is still #1 priority there, but he said incoming tips have declined, so authorities are transitioning from around-the-clock reactive operations to a more deliberate and methodical effort to progress the investigation. Jamie's been missing since early October 15th when sheriff's deputies responding to a 911 call found her parents, James and Denise Kloss, both shot dead in their home. The sheriff's office said it has received more than 2,100 tips. The FBI still offering that $50,000 reward for information that leads to finding Jamie.
Well, November is here. Let's get a first check on the weather now. Meteorologist Dave Caulfield is in the Weather Center. Dave?
Well, Susan, it's feeling pretty close to what we should be feeling on November 1st. A little bit on the chilly side because of the clouds being a little bit stubborn, especially this afternoon. We can see that on visible cloud track. Not too much sunshine today, but Doppler track has been quiet, and I expect it to remain that way into tomorrow as well. Live look in Madison at those cloudy skies on the WISC-TV Skycam. Currently at 46 degrees, northeast wind at 8 miles per hour. Some other temperatures, we did reach the 50s across southwestern Wisconsin, so we're at 50 in Platteville, 53 in Boscobel, and 50 in Mineral Point, 47 in Watertown, and 48 in Janesville. That wind out of the north and east at about 8 to 12 miles per hour this evening. Temperatures and winds over the next 12 hours will fall through the 40s into the lower 30s by the time we start off Friday morning. And when I come back in just a few minutes, we will talk about rain chances returning and kind of a messy start to next week in your first alert forecast in just a few minutes.
All right, Dave, thank you. The fight over health care continues tonight.
Now, with just 5 days now until Election Day, the candidates for governor are explaining more about their plans to cover pre-existing conditions. Rose Schmidt joins us now to explain. Rose?
We know that healthcare is the top issue on voters' minds heading into next week's election. That's according to new poll results yesterday from the Marquette. At a campaign event in Waukesha, Governor Scott Walker is making a new promise.
No matter what happens in the courts or in the Congress in Wisconsin, we will codify that, the exact same language that's in the Affordable Care Act. We'll make sure that everyone living with a pre-existing condition is covered here in the state.
We've heard Walker guarantee coverage for people with these medical conditions before, but now he says he plans to put in place the very same language as the federal law he opposes.
People want to know, they want to hear it directly from me, that we will always cover people with pre-existing conditions.
But Walker's Democratic challenger Tony Evers, in a phone interview with us today, is warning voters not to believe Walker's words.
He's masquerading behind an election day, election year phony promise that he can't keep.
Evers is attacking the current governor for authorizing that Wisconsin be a part of a lawsuit to repeal the Affordable Care Act.
People in Wisconsin know this is just a typical politician, Scott Walker, doing and saying one thing and doing completely the opposite.
News out this week shows the federal government is approving a waiver imposing a work requirement to be on Medicaid in Wisconsin, a proposal Walker championed and says will help break down barriers to welfare.
If you're an able-bodied working-age adult, we expect you're going to work in this state.
But Evers took it as an opportunity to criticize Walker for not accepting federal Medicaid expansion money, which Evers promises to take if elected.
Scott Walker continues to divert issues from the basics there.
New poll results out from Marquette Law School show that Walker and Evers cannot get much closer in this race. They were tied 47-47.
Absolutely a race to watch. Everybody will be watching that one closely. Rose
That's
Schmidt
right.
in studio with us. Rose, thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Just 5 days, as we said, until the election, and candidates are out and about continuing to campaign in Wisconsin. Senator Tammy Baldwin is joining students at UW-Madison today. She's casting her ballot and encouraging others to vote and vote early.
Part of what happened in 2016 is that in 2016, too many people stayed home. And when people stay home, their voices aren't heard. They're not owning their own power. They're not influencing the outcome of important discussions.
Senator Elizabeth Warren will be campaigning with Senator Baldwin in Madison and Milwaukee tomorrow.
Meanwhile, Leah Vukmir campaigning in Waukesha today with House Speaker Paul Ryan and Governor Walker, Lieutenant Governor Rebecca Clayfish as well. Vukmir discussed unemployment rates in Wisconsin, health care, and the difference between her and Senator Baldwin.
Taxing Tammy. She has voted to increase your taxes 413 times. She has also voted against the tax cuts. That $2,508, if I'm correct, that was what the governor said, for a family of four, $2,508 that you get to use as you see fit.
Counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway, also campaigning with Leah Vukmir today up in Appleton.
Election day is Tuesday, and there are a lot of candidates and races on your ballot.
Our political reporter, Jess Gar, breaks down in about 60 seconds what you should know before you head to the polls.
First things first, are you registered to vote? If not, you can head to your local clerk's office until November 2nd, or you can register at the polls on Election Day. You'll need proof of residence to do so. Don't know where to vote? Head to myvote.wi.gov and enter your address. It'll tell you where to go. What's on your ballot? Statewide races are first. For governor, Republican Scott Walker faces Democrat Tony Evers. Republican Attorney General Brad Schimmel faces Democratic challenger Josh Kaul. You'll also find races for state treasurer and secretary of state. For Congress, you'll find the U.S. Senate race. Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin faces Republican challenger Leah Vukmir. You'll find House races on your ballot, too. In the second, that's Mark Pocan. He's unopposed. In the first, Republican Brian Stile faces Democrat Randy Bryce for Speaker Paul Ryan's seat. You'll also have local races, as well as advisory referendums on things like property taxes and marijuana legalization. Finally, on Election Day, you'll need a photo ID to vote. We'll put a link to more of this information on channel3000.com.
Thank you, Jessica. The Boys and Girls Club of Dane County announced its new CEO today, and for those involved with the organization, it's a familiar face. Michael Johnson served in the role for 8 years before resigning for an opportunity with the United Way of Greater Cincinnati in July. Earlier this week, issues between Johnson and the board chair in Cincinnati came to light, and they decided to part ways last night. The Boys and Girls Club of Dane County quickly reached out to Michael Johnson after an exhaustive search for his replacement. The Boys and Girls Club had come up empty.
Throughout this process, however, we weren't able to find who we thought would be the next best fit as our CEO. But as it turns out, that was a blessing in disguise, because we couldn't be more excited to welcome Michael Johnson back to the organization.
During Johnson's first tenure at the Boys and Girls Club, the number of families being served quadrupled. Interim CEO Rod Mitchell will return to his role as the club's chief operating officer. There's more to come tonight at 5 when we come back.
We'll have the latest on the president, his discussions about immigration from Washington, and building a bit of a win streak on Wall Street. The Dow up almost 265 points. The Nasdaq added 128. The S&P 500 jumped 29. We'll be right back. President Trump unveiled a new plan that he says will discourage illegal immigrants from entering the United States.
The president is announcing a new plan to overhaul the asylum program. Under the current system, immigrants can stay in the U.S. while their cases for asylum work through the courts, whether they registered at an official checkpoint or not. But the president says that's over with.
We're going to no longer release. We're going to catch. We're not going to release.
The Pentagon is sending more than 5,200 troops to the southwest border, in addition to the more than 2,000 National Guard already deployed there to deal with a caravan of migrants.
The suspect in the Pittsburgh synagogue massacre that killed 11 people pleaded not guilty to federal murder and hate crimes charges. Robert Bowers was arraigned on an indictment that charges him with murder, hate crimes, obstructing in the practice of religion, and other crimes. Bowers had been set for a preliminary hearing Thursday, but instead federal prosecutors took the case to a grand jury. He's accused of killing 11 people last Saturday at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh.
Let's head outside now for a check on the weather, and Dave Caulfield is on the weather patio. Hi, Dave.
Hey, Susan and Eric. It's been a little bit chilly today, and not too much sunshine has been able to break through these stubborn clouds that we've had across southern Wisconsin, but it could be worse on the first day of November. We could be talking about temperatures in the 30s, and we saw highs in the upper 40s and low 50s today. We're kind of in between systems right now across Wisconsin. We do have a tiny area of high pressure, I should say, off to the north, and that is keeping the bad weather away for now, but it won't last for very long. I think as we head into later this weekend, we'll be dealing with those rain chances coming up across southern Wisconsin. But as far as rain chances go over the next 48 hours, I really don't think we have too much to worry about. We'll be probably dry. The exception for some of us is early on Saturday. Some of us may see a quick bout of rain and maybe even some flurries coming through, but it shouldn't be a major deal. I think those rain chances really start to go up as we head into late Saturday night and early Sunday. Our time lapse in Madison showing a little bit of sunshine, but not too much. We could definitely use a little bit more on the first day of November on the Edgewater Skycam. Right now, we're not seeing any sunshine, but we're seeing the road out there. Some of those cars looking nice on our Edgewater Skycam in downtown Madison. Today's high, as I mentioned, in the upper 40s, so just a few degrees off of our normal for this time of year. We did make it into the mid-50s in Boscobel, upper 40s in Monroe, and low 50s in Janesville. Our high temperature trend, we should be right about 52 for this time of year, so we're going to be a couple of degrees either side of that line until we get into the middle of next week. That's when I think those temperatures head down into the low 40s. It's the most wonderful time of the year, folks. No, not Christmas. Daylight saving time ending. We get to have an extra hour of sleep. Remember that early on Sunday morning to change those clocks back, because, I mean, why would you want to miss something so great? Your voting forecast, I wouldn't necessarily vote for this forecast if I had the choice, but unfortunately the rain looking to stick around for Election Day 2018 for much of the day, and temperatures hanging out in the mid-40s. Not the best day to head out and cast the ballots, but I guess we'll have to take what we can get. Sometimes it's not about that. But tonight we are talking about the clouds sticking around for the most part, seasonally cold. Temperatures will be in the low 30s. Tomorrow, chilly, variably cloudy. Highs will once again be in the upper 40s. So we stay pretty quiet on Future Track as we head into tonight. Tomorrow, we're starting off right around that freezing mark in many spots across southern Wisconsin. A little bit of sunshine trying to peek out by Friday afternoon and early evening, but it's just not looking all that successful. Maybe a little bit more sunshine tomorrow compared to today. And that's what I was talking about on Future Track early on Saturday. A couple of rain showers and snowflakes may start us off very briefly, but I do think much of Saturday will be dry until we get into the late evening hours and the overnight hours into early on Sunday. Your 7-day forecast showing an unsettled start to next week, and for Election Day, those rain showers sticking around and even a few flurries mixing in at times late on Tuesday. But I do think we dry out for Wednesday through Saturday of next week. But those temperatures are staying pretty chilly in the low 40s. Now let's take a look at your first alert traffic update. A live look at the Beltline and Rimrock Road. A little bit slow go in both directions. No major accidents or incidents to report across the Madison area roadways. We are looking pretty good closer to Stoughton Road and the interstate, but still seeing those brake lights at Park Street, Rimrock Road, and through Fish Hatchery Road as well. Your drive times are on the road to John Nolan, that's 6 minutes with an average speed of around 40 miles per hour eastbound. And westbound, we are looking pretty much the same in that same stretch. That is also 6 minutes with an average speed of around 40 miles per hour. And that is your First Alert traffic update.
All right, Dave, thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Ahead at 5, Google employees walk out while at work today. We'll tell you why when we return. Workers in the tech industry sent their message to Google today saying it's a workplace that doesn't work for everyone.
Employees walked off the job to protest sexual harassment and the way that the company handles complaints against its executives. Chris Martinez reports.
Employees poured out of Google offices around the world to protest the company's handling of sexual misconduct.
I think it's 2018 now, and it's high time that this stops.
In both Chicago and New York, workers filed into the streets,
Walk it out.
demanding more transparency in the company's handling of sexual harassment complaints and an end to forced arbitration, which prevents employees from taking their cases to court.
The company is failing everyone.
Dema Rodriguez has worked at Google for 7 years.
Every person who shows up to work at Google is an equal member of our community and deserves to be respected, protected, and safe at work.
The backlash has been building since the New York Times reported Google quietly protected at least 3 male executives from sexual harassment claims over the last decade, letting 2 leave with hefty payouts.
Letting accused executives quietly walk away with buckets full of cash is standard, and it really should not be.
David Baker walked out in solidarity with his female colleagues.
The whole industry and Google has a problem with dealing with the fact that there are sexual harassers in positions of power.
In California, staffers streamed out of Google's Mountain View headquarters. CEO Sundar Pichai has apologized for the company's past actions and says he supports the walkout. But workers want more concrete action, saying if Google doesn't lead the way, no one else will. Chris Martinez, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And stay with us. We'll have another check of the weather when we return.
Tonight on the CBS Evening News, the president says he has a new set of rules on asylum and immigration. Oprah Winfrey's campaign visit to Georgia and the disturbing rush of school bus accidents this week. It's all tonight on the CBS Evening News.
Finally at 5, this is what happens when NASA puts on a pumpkin decorating contest for Halloween.
Engineers at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena took part in the annual contest, and they did not disappoint. The rules are simple: no planning or carving during work hours. Engineers had to craft their creations on their own time, and the grand prize for all this wickedly intricate work Just bragging rights. The annual competition is now in its 7th year.
Okay, that's a little much.
They've
that
got
one
some
playing
skills.
guitar. That's awesome.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Dave Caulfield joining us as we get the month of November underway in the weather department.
Yeah, temperatures should be in the low 50s for this time of year. We only made it into the upper 40s, but I mean, I guess there's a prize for second place in this case. Temperatures will stay a little bit on the chilly side as we head into the next couple of days, and tonight will be another chilly one. Platteville on our Queen Bee Radio Skycam showing a little bit of light, but clouds have held stubborn today. Temperatures are in the 40s and 50s right now, and temperatures over the next 12 hours will see those thermometer readings dip through the 40s into the low 30s to start off tomorrow. Plenty of clouds still around tomorrow, but maybe a little bit more sunshine towards the afternoon. Highs will be in the upper 40s, and we do get those rain chances back with us late on Saturday, and they stay with us through Election Day.
All right, we're back in 30 minutes for News 3 at 6, the CBS Evening News. We're heading to New York next. Stay tuned.